The odds of our genome forming the way it has formed, and I want to talk about how it formed, but the odds of that happening are 1 in 10 to the 600th. So if 1 in 10 to the 400th is impossible, 1 in 10 to the 600th means it's more than impossible that we are the product of random processes, lucky biology. That there is, and as a scientist, I have to say the evidence supports, not just suggests, it supports there's an intentionality underlying our existence. That intentionality may be the link to the beings from other worlds. A higher intelligence would, and in our ancient texts, there are different ways of looking at that. Are we talking about gods? Are we talking about angels? Are we talking about Nephilim? Are we talking, whatever? That's a whole conversation. The point, higher intelligence intervened. And we know this. Now, I want to be really clear. Are you okay if we have this conversation?
Oh, yeah,
this part? Do we have time?
Yeah, we got more than enough time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as a geologist, I believe in evolution. So I'm not anti-evolution. I've seen it in the fossil record when I did my field work. I saw it for plants, insects, animals. Darwin's theory of evolution breaks down when it comes to humans. We showed up mysteriously 200,000 years ago, and we don't know where we came from. What we do know, now that we have we can do what's called forensic DNA. And this is only, within the last few years, we can look at our genome and look backwards, reverse engineer what had to happen to give us our humanness. For me, the smoking gun, there are a couple, but I think the one that is the most outstanding and probably the most controversial is human chromosome number 2. And I write about this in the new book. What we know, so human chromosome 2, it's the second largest chromosome in our nucleus. It's a big, long chromosome. It has about 1,200 genes, and I won't go through all of them, but a couple, even one, gene TBR1 is responsible for the neocortex in the human brain. That is where our humanness comes from. Empathy, sympathy, compassion. It is where our logic capabilities, where the mirror neurons are that we use for learning. They're all contained in that neocortex. It is where, there's so much happening in the neocortex, and that's just from TBR1. So it's an important chromosome. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have it. And so scientists say, well, where did it come from? Well, now the proceedings from National Academy of Sciences is a volume called Genetics. They know the answer, and they don't like the answer because they say, and this is important, when a scientist makes a discovery they want credit for and they're proud of, they will say, look at what I discovered. When they make a discovery that they may lose their tenure for, or that little controversy around it, they'll say, look at what we discovered. All right. So Proceedings National Academy of Sciences, the summary actually says, we conclude the origin of human chromosome 2 is from the fusion of the telomere to telomere fusion of 2 ancient chromosomes. All right. Telomeres, I know our viewers know, telomeres are on the ends of the chromosome to protect them. When the cell divides, it's a trauma for the cell. And if you could imagine, the chromosomes are pulled apart. And there's a part of the chromosome, every chromosome, that is not going to make it in that pulling apart. And that means there's a potential to lose important DNA. So the way nature, the way we're engineered, takes care of that is we have on the ends of the chromosomes, the telomeres that are repeating sequences that take the hit from pulling apart. Okay. So if something is not going to make it, it's not the important DNA, it's the stuff in the telomeres. All right. So they're only on the ends of the chromosome, and that's the point. Chromosome number 2, and I've got pictures of it, and Steve can probably find a photograph. Chromosome number 2 is as big as it is because 2 chromosomes were fused telomere to telomere. Now you've got telomeres on this end, and right in the middle where they shouldn't be. There should be no telomeres in the middle of the chromosome. But not only, that looks like that's my slide.
Which one?
Does it say my name? Is it
The green
No.
one?
Oh, you won't. Oh.
No, that's my slide right there on the left hand. It's
On the
up,
top left?
Yeah,
Huh.
from a recent program that I did. Where's that come from?
When you visit the
John
site?
Hawks. Who's John Hawks?
I don't know, but he put
There we
that's my white circle that I put up there showing.
Oh, wow.
And
Punch in on that.
And I enlarged it. See that? So what you're seeing, okay,
Yeah.
so first of all, these are chromosomes under a microscope, and they've been dyed. So we
Okay.
can see the chromosomes green. The red or pink, however it comes out on there. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not seeing.
It's red.
Okay, those are the telomeres, and you can see on all the other ones, telomeres are on the ends right there, and then it's the inside the white circle is the same one that's been enlarged.
Right.
I did that. That's my slide.
Oh, wow.
That somebody's using in their their paper, showing. Look at where you can see right in the middle. The two red places are right in the middle, but you can actually see the pinch point. It looks unnatural because
Right.
it's a little skinny place. But here's the thing: not only were the pre-existing chromosomes fused telomere to telomere, but after the fusion, genes were taken away and genes were added and genes were silenced to stabilize the fusion. And it didn't happen slowly, gradually over a long period of time, as evolution would suggest. This happened quickly 200,000 years ago. It's when we showed up. The chromosomes were fused when we showed up.
And what is the significance of those chromosomes of that chromosome 2 being fused?
The significance is it gives us our humanness. If we didn't have chromosome 2, you wouldn't have the neocortex. You wouldn't have sympathy, empathy, compassion. You wouldn't have the ability to self-regulate your own biology. And if that was the only one, you could say maybe it's weird, but maybe it's a fluke. But it wasn't the only one. Chromosome number 7. So as a musician, I'm a musician when I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always, chimpanzees, they share 98% of our DNA. I mean, that's a mind blower. 98%. And so I've always wondered, why can't a chimpanzee sing? You're never going to hear a chimpanzee sing in Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. Or if you ever do, shoot me a text because I want to see that. And the question is why? And the answer is because chromosome 7 was stable in all primates for about 175 million years. Stable. All right. All of a sudden, two little genes, there was this little switch of these two genes that connected our tongue and our jaw and the part of our brain that allows us complex speech and the ability to sing. And guess, just take a wild guess. When do you think that happened?
No idea.
200,000 years ago.
200,000 years ago.
Exactly the same time chromosome 2 was being fused, exactly the time that we appeared on Earth. What are the odds of chromosome 2 being fused and chromosome 7 happening all at the same time? And the odds are astronomically small because the odds of our genome forming the way it formed is 1 in 10 to the 600th.
What is the conventional explanation for this?
Darwin's theory of evolution suggests that we are the product of a long, slow, gradual process over a long period of time through what is called random mutations. Colloquially, we call it lucky biology.
Okay.
It's kind of like you've referred to Goldilocks conditions on Earth. It's the equivalent of Goldilocks. What are the chances that just the right genes, just the right chromosomes came together in just the right time, to give us our humanness? So you see these kinds of mutations, and scientists say, I mean, this isn't my opinion. This is in those technical, it's in there's a paper from Proceedings National Academy of Sciences. The volume is called Genetics. It says this cannot happen under natural circumstances. Something happened 200,000 years ago to give us our humanness, and we appeared. And now here's the mind blower. 200,000 years later, now we can pull the DNA out of the fossilized remains of ancient forms of life. It used to be science fiction. Jurassic Park was based on the science fiction that they pulled the DNA out of dinosaur bones and then they brought the dinosaurs to life. They reconstituted them. To the best of my knowledge, we have not reconstituted any forms of life. But in the basement of the Pentagon, somebody, my chair squeaking, somebody up there is doing it. But what we can do, this is what we can do. We can pull that DNA and build a genome, a printout of that genome. And so now we can compare our genome today to the genome of the forms of life that Darwin's theory of evolution says we descended from, and the DNA says we didn't descend from them. We did not descend from Australopithecus. We didn't, Lucy, we didn't descend from Neanderthal. Now, if you do a DNA test for your ancestry, a lot of people will say, well, I've got Neanderthal DNA, and more in Northern Europe. You see that a lot in the UK. And it even proves the point, because we shared the earth with Neanderthal. We actually interbred. They say we probably had boyfriends and girlfriends, Neanderthal boyfriends and girlfriends. Right. We shared the earth with them. We could not have descended from them. So the point is, we don't know where we came from.
So you're saying because we interbred with them, that's why it shows up.
Theory of evolution says that we are the process of this long, or the product of this long, slow, gradual process. Yeah. A lot of people don't know there was a corollary to Darwin's theory, put forth by another scientist at the time, that says that the corollary says nature never over endows. So the problem is we are all over endowed, and people love to hear that. But what it means is that an organism will only develop the characteristics it needs when nature puts the demand on the organism for it. So, for example, adaptation. The studies of moths in London during the industrial age, the coal fire plants. The moths had white feathers. They'd be against white buildings, and that would camouflage them from the birds, and the birds couldn't get them. Once the coal fire plant started, all the buildings were covered with soot, and they turned black. And the white moths stood out like a sore thumb, and the birds were picking them off right and left. And they quickly adapted to turn the color of their wings black so that they would blend in with the soot. That's an example of nature giving a capability because the demand is there for survival.
Right.
The problem is, Danny, that we showed up 200,000 years ago with a genome that is light years beyond what we needed for simple survival 200,000 years ago, with capabilities that some of them we're only beginning to understand, extended neural networks that allow us to create heart-brain coherence, for example, that open the door to so many human potentials, the ability to self-regulate our own. We're the only form of life that can, at will, on demand, when we choose, sit down in a moment in time and say, in this moment, I choose to strengthen my immune system. I choose to create resilience to the changes of my life. I choose to create stronger heart rate variability. I choose to create super memory, super cognition. There are over 1,300 positive biological changes that we consciously have the ability. No other form of life can do that. And it's because of what happened 200,000 years ago. So as a scientist, I have to be careful. The evidence strongly suggests intervention of some kind. It doesn't say who or what, but this did not happen naturally. Now, my own personal feelings when I read the ancient texts and I visit all these ancient cultures, what's so interesting, not one of the ancient traditions I've ever been with, the Andes in southern Peru and the shamans in the Yucatan and Nepal and India and the monks and nuns in Tibet, Bedouin in Africa, none of them say that we're the product of a long, slow, gradual process of random mutations. Every single one, bar none, says that we're the product of an intentional act and that we are part of a greater community, whatever we want to call that. So now some people say, now you're talking about aliens, and other people say, well, you're talking about angels and demons, and other people say, well, you're talking about time travelers and advanced civilization. We have different ways of describing, but the science is telling us we're not the product of random, just lucky biology.
Yeah.